Thank you.
Congressman Smith, let me start with you. In the days after Flight 253 unfolded, you said we didn't act sufficiently with the information that we had. As we're learning more, do you still think that was the case, and how could we improve?
Well, certainly the information that was available about this person should have given rise to him at least getting more screening when he went to the airport. In all likelihood, he probably belonged on the no-fly list as a result of the warning that his father had given to the embassy and some of the other information we had about his travel to Yemen. I think that was the big mistake here. This was a guy we knew about, but a guy that we still let get on the plane without any additional screening. Those are the dots that I think really needed to be connected in this case.
And Congressman Lungren, some more information we're getting now connects him to Yemen. A group there, an al-Qaeda group in the Arabian Peninsula, now claims responsibility for helping him to plan the attack, including at least one person we believe was a detainee at Guantanamo Bay before getting back to work on the battlefield, essentially. How do you think this impacts the debate now about closing up the detention center at Gitmo?
Well, I hope it would give us an idea of the sense of urgency we need in this response to the war on terror against our liberties. And I hope people will understand that closing Guantanamo is a bad idea. We are not in trouble because we have Guantanamo, but we will be in more trouble if we release people from Guantanamo or bring them into the United States or put them into the our civil justice system. The military tribunal system has worked well from the beginning of this republic up to the present time. It makes no sense to be doing what we're doing. We ought to learn from these events, as we've learned from many events since 9/11. We act at our detriment when we ignore these new facts. We ought to respond to them. And one of the things we ought to do is say, we've made a mistake in closing Guantanamo or intending to close Guantanamo. We ought to keep it open. It, in fact, serves our purposes very, very well, uniquely so.
Well, Congressman Smith, we're hearing from the Obama administration on a number of top officials that they intend to go forward with their plans as they had already set them up involving Gitmo. Do you support that move?
I think it is the right move, and I think what we're doing here is we're sort of merging two issues. The biggest issue, the one that the Bush administration had to wrestle with and the Obama administration will also have to wrestle with, is who do you release? Who do you let out? Whether you're holding them in Guantanamo or in the U.S., or as in some cases during the Bush administration in prisons in other parts of the world, the issue is who do you keep and who do you release? And the Bush administration really wrestled with that. A lot of the people that they released from Guantanamo, with no intention to close Guantanamo, they simply released these people from that prison, returned to the battlefield. And I think they admit that they had a hard time sort of sorting through who to keep and who to not keep. That's got nothing to do with whether or not we hold them in Guantanamo or we hold them in the U.S., as we are now holding some terrorists. So I think merging those two issues is more politics than substance. The big challenge we have is, who do you hold? Obviously, in the past, both the Bush administration and the Obama administration released people that should not have been released, and that process definitely needs to be reviewed. But I think when we held them all at Guantanamo, one of the problems was there were no military tribunals, there were no trials of any kind for most of them there. The time marched on, and there was pressure. Do we release them, do we not? So getting a trial system in place that makes sense, understanding who we hold and when, I think that makes a great deal of sense. But you can certainly do that, holding them in maximum security prisons in the U.S. as easily as you can do it holding them in Guantanamo.
Well, as the Gitmo situation...
That's not true. That's not true. The fact of the matter is, when you bring it to the United States on U.S. territory, it changes the impact of the Constitution and the rights that they have. It also
there was a Supreme Court decision that made it.
It also gives the federal judges far more play than they would have otherwise. So the decision is, will you decide whether people are released, that is the executive branch, under the commander-in-chief authority, or do you have it under the justice system, that is federal judges? And I think history shows us that it ought to be under the executive branch.
But it's not true. That is what the Bush administration believed. That's why they set up Guantanamo. They thought they could get outside of that judicial aspect. But the decision in the Hamdan case and in other cases reversed that and said, no, Guantanamo is in effect U.S. soil. So being held in Guantanamo does not have that advantage. Does not have that advantage the Bush administration thought they would have. They are just as subject to judicial review in Guantanamo as they are in the U.S., because that's what the Supreme Court ruled. So that advantage is out the window.
All right, Congressman Lungren, a final sentence from you.
The Supreme Court has not fully reviewed that, and decided on that. Historically, we've handled it differently. We would be far, far safer if we handled it in the historic fashion instead of this nonsense as if 9/11 did not occur. It did occur. We need to protect the American people.
We're not saying 9/11 didn't occur. We've had trouble holding these people no matter the rules.
We've got to leave it there. We thank you both for a spirited debate. We know it's not an easily solved issue by any means. Congressman Adam Smith and Dan Lungren, thank you very much, both of you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.